talking about Congress, fam, as we digress into the next situation, we have had this thing when we go out with our friends, around the household. We talk about Hong Kong and China a lot, too. And I think I want to make a point right out the gate when I say this is that I'm not going around saying that China has the way, that they're the number one beacon of light government, authoritarian ways or whatnot. It's funny. There's a spider crawling on top of the computer. We talked about it on top of the camera. It's so funny, guys. You guys can't see it, but Spider-Man is watching and listen. Thank you to the spider for the super chat contribution. But I talk about China often because I say that I don't want us to manufacture consent. You know, we've been taught in school, we've been given this kind of information that China is this crazy authoritarian government, that it's so evil, that it's just won't let people talk. We can't have the convo couch. It's gone, John. You don't have the convo couch in China. It'll never happen, whatnot. But we also talk about, and I talk about often, the way China has made big, big steps to help poverty, to pull people out of poverty. In fact, they got this new Belt and Road Initiative that is coming on that will really take a ton more people out of poverty, provide access for food, for resources, for gas, for electricity, for energy, for medical aid. To build the whole project is going to just really lift a lot of people out of poverty. But I don't want us manufacturing consent and pointing the finger at China and Hong Kong for us to go and put aircraft carriers in the South China Sea by depicting that Hong Kong is getting invaded by China. It's just not the case right now. It is a sticky situation. Hong Kong has been given over to China, but it's a slow process, and there's a two-system government. In other words, China's going to run their system their way, and Hong Kong is allowed to stay within their preliminary system, their parliamentary system, and do what they got to do. They had this law come out saying that they were going to lift this extradition law. What had happened was between Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Beijing, there's no extradition laws. Somebody can commit a crime in China, go to Hong Kong, and not be accounted for. They can't go and extradite him. Somebody can commit a crime in Hong Kong, go to Taiwan, and not be accounted for. They can't go and extradite him. So they put this law up, and all shit broke loose. We've been reporting on this show, as many other shows, about the way the NED has been funding this things left and right. Now, the other day, they had the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act of 2019. You can see right over here, we have the government bill from the House. Now, we don't have the votes because it was a voice vote, so there's nothing logged down. But let's go to the co-sponsors right there, Johnny. When you hit the co-sponsors, let's take a look at who co-sponsored this bill and why I am so upset. You can see right here. Scott Perry, of course. You got Brian Fitzpatrick. You got Ted Yoho. We'll get back to him a little bit later because Ted Yoho's American. But then you have people like Ayanna Pressley, who signed on to this bill. So disappointing. Ro Khanna, who signed on to this bill. As expected, fam, Harley Rauda co-signed onto this bill. You know, Harley, your guy. Peter King, all the way down. It was kind of upsetting. And now if you go to the Senate, and you go to the Senate bill, once again, just paying attention to simply who's co-sponsoring this bill. And this vote was just the other day. Where's the co-sponsors? Oh, I can't. I'm on the wrong thing. But anyways, you can see the co-sponsors on there. Johnny, let me see if I can't even get to it. Let me see if I can get to it. Sorry. But there's the co-sponsors on there. There's Elizabeth Warren. There is Kamala Harris. There is Cory Booker. All the ones we suspected that will jump on this thing immediately and act like they're fighting for
Bernie
human
Sanders
rights.
There?
Bernie Sanders is not a co-sponsor. Tulsi Gabbard is not a co-sponsor.
Wow.
Everybody else, though.
Jeez. I am
Klobuchar
so surprised that the two most progressive candidates
have not co-signed on to this bill. However, I heard it was a unanimous decision within the House.
Yeah.
When they voted voice-wise, I was very, very upset by it. And, of course, as you can see, Donald J. Trump has now signed this into law.
Wow.
So now you have the House, the Senate, whatnot. Now you can say, okay, well, what is this? What are we protecting about? And I just want to show you real quick because guys like Ben Norton, have been so on this. A guy named Ajit Singh, who writes for the Greystone, been so on this.
Gray Zone, yeah.
The Gray Zone. Let's take a look at Ben Norton's Twitter real quick, because he put up a little post, and I've been saying about this, like, these people who are funded for the riots now, at one point, fam, there were a lot of people out in the beginning. They were protesting against the ways in Hong Kong, the poorness, the austerity measures, and somehow it got hijacked. And then the NED and these anti-Beijing people all came in. So this is right here. Show this Twitter, this video right here. There's been a lot of things right here. You can see the video. These are some of the brutal, violent, moderate rebels. Using the term moderate rebels because we heard it before in Hong Kong that the U.S. government, the corporate media, and the neoliberal human rights industry wholeheartedly are supporting. So now there's been a lot of this, and you can watch this. A lot of people would go to the streets, like the citizens of Hong Kong, and they would clean up the roads that the protesters have been blocking and whatnot. So here comes a person trying to clean up the roads, and watch what a protester does to him. Word of caution, violence.
今日見到有人喺度清路障喎，竟然嗱，今日見到啦，有一啲市民啦喺度清路障嘅，咁啊會唔會引起一啲事嘅發生咧？咁啊唔知㗎，係咪嗱？
So you can see right here, he's just cleaning up the stuff in the streets. And we saw this the other day. This is a video that made me cry. There was about 25, 30 people in the streets. You can see he's just trying to get stuff out of the streets so the average everyday person, can get to work. This strike has been affecting the poor people of this country. So the protesters don't like him, and it was narrated on the camera that they started talking shit. So here he starts clearing the major part of the rubble that's going to let people get through. He's got a stick to protect himself, so he puts his phone out so he can cover stuff, and boom. If you guys didn't hear that, did they hear that? There was that metal pipe across the face smacking him.
Jesus.
Look at the blood flowing. These are the supporters we're protesting. And I want to make a point of this because within the new bill, within this new democracy bill that was signed into place, and we're going to go to, as soon as we're done here, we're going to go to the Ajit Singh article that he wrote from the Gray Zone, which was amazing. And it has Nancy Pelosi there, and it says Hong Kong's opposition to Washington.
Hong Kong's
opposition unites with Washington hardliners to preserve U.S.'s own political and economic interest. This was a great written article, and it says, while claiming to fight for self-determination, Hong Kong oppositions and leaders are collaborating with regime change neoconservatives in Washington to preserve the U.S.'s own political and economic interest. A new D.C. lobbying front has become their base of operations. And I want to read a couple of the first paragraphs real quick because it gets really, really cool here. The U.S. state anonymously passed the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act on November 19th without any opposition, despite loudly proclaiming to protect human rights and democracy. A closer look at the legislation reveals that the imperial agenda underlying Washington's action in Hong Kong. And I love his second sentence right here. It says, behind its humanitarian cloak. And that's what it is, fan. We do this all the time.
Right.
We act like we're for human rights. We act like we're for peace. We act like we're for democracy. Democracy. We want more democracy. And yet, we're going in there to really give ourselves an economic advantage. This is about protecting oligarchs and corporations within Shanghai. This is about protecting the trade rights. We are meddling in their business no matter what. And here's the thing, fam. If China is authoritarian AF, if they're bad, that's fine. Okay? But we're not there really to stand up against that. We're there for our own economic needs. The military-industrial complex is pushing to put aircraft carriers in the South China Sea. And it's disgusting, and I hate to say I told you so, because this bill right here that they all signed is a straight F-U to the Xi Jinping government, and it's not what we want.
And as Pasta said, this isn't defending authoritarianism in China. That is obvious, but authoritarianism in our country is also extremely obvious. And it's also something that is obviously happening. And regardless of whether it exists there, it exists here. And we should focus on fixing our own country before meddling in another country's affairs. And then, of course, in turn, manipulating it so in the name of democracy and humanitarianism, which is, like Pasta said, what we constantly do time and time again. And what we've been doing for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the major superpowers in the world. This is a country that has nuclear weapons. This is some serious shit here, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And we have some video, because what I did was we couldn't see the votes as far as on paper. It's not official down. It was a voice vote. Therefore, we don't know who voted what on what. But I went into C-SPAN, and here's my Twitter real quick, though. Let's show my Twitter real quick, because I want to point out, just want everybody to know, okay, right here, anybody who supports the Hong Kong Human Rights Democracy Act knows that they're backing the same regime change aficionado that talked to the opposition in Bolivia. That's right, Marco Rubio, bringing freedom and democracy from Uncle Sam. And there he is. If you can click on the picture, it was the same picture with Nancy Pelosi, Joshua Wong, okay? This guy has been the major agitator. And if you go back to that Twitter real quick, that report, that article from Ajit, I just want to show you down below on this article, when you go all the way down, Johnny, it's going to show you who the members of the board are. Keep going down even further. All who's on the board. Below that, right here. Now you go below this right over here. Hong Kong, the NED. It's all these people that are on their advisory board. All these people. So in other words, they're working hand in hand using U.S. taxpayer dollar. And it listed there. The advisory board, who's on the regular board, they call themselves the HKDC right now. The Hong Kong Deputy Council, whatever. And it's this group that is funded by the NED, is directed by the NED. It's all their advisory board telling them what to do. And they're trying to cause havoc and chaos within their own people and their own country. Therefore, we manufacture consent and we do what we need to do in an imperialistic way so the elites and the oligarchs get their cheddar, fam. And that's what this is about. That's why I'm so strong in saying, hey, wait a second. China's not doing so bad. Let's leave them be. They're bringing people out of poverty. They're trying to get people involved. You know what I'm saying? They're moving people out of extreme poverty. We need to get our own shit straight first before we start poking our eye in anywhere else. But that's what this is about. And it really is bad.
It's just important to note that Donald Trump and the Republicans are in agreement with the Democratic establishment.
Yes.
Once again, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Cory Bookers, the Kamala Harris's, all of these people.
Schultz.
Yeah. And all these people who call themselves progressives. When it comes to foreign policy, they all agree. They all have this agenda to be extremely pro-war, pro-regime change, pro-proxy war. If they do veer from that, they are a threat to the establishment, and that is obviously, you can see that at play during this election.